rules. And clearly that was a big issue then, and students had a real reason to come out. And similarly, the quota issue is something that a lot of young people in Bangladesh are concerned about, because quotas were instituted in 1972 after Bangladesh gained its independence, essentially to provide for the descendants, the children and descendants of freedom fighters, something similar to what we did after 1947, when there were various facilities for descendants of freedom fighters. But 53 years after Bangladesh's independence, a lot of young people are saying that is it necessary to have such high levels of reservations for government jobs, especially at a time when the economy is not doing so well. So there are underlying factors to all of this. And we all know that Bangladesh reserves 56% of all seats in government for various categories. 30% for descendants of freedom fighters, 10% for backward districts, 10% for women, 5% for ethnic minorities, and 1% for physically challenged people. And so from that perspective, students are saying we want a more level playing field now, and this quota system has to be done away with. And those agitations that took place earlier this year, last year actually, government had actually conceded the point. Government had agreed that these quotas should be done away with, and took a decision to that effect and conveyed that to the students. But certain freedom fighters went to the courts, and the High Court stayed that order. So what government is saying is that, look, this is a matter which is sub judice. Sheikh Hasina herself came on television to address the nation, and she said, look, we are with you in this whole business, but until the court pronounces on this issue, government, the executive, is really not in a position to act on it. But what we will try and do is to get that decision as early as possible. And I also heard that the Bangladesh government had asked the courts to bring the decision out as early as tomorrow, that's Sunday, which is a working day in Bangladesh. So from that perspective, I think you have a government that is trying to reach out, that's trying to engage on the genuine demands of the students, have also offered a dialogue. But what we've seen over the last day or two is that the movement has taken a political turn. The opposition Bangladesh National Party, the BNP, has got involved in this business, and this is strange because the BNP did not agree to participate in the last two general elections. So they have not been a participant in the democratic process. But they are, obviously ready to go out in the streets and fish in troubled waters. So they are there. You also have the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is associated with the pro-Pakistan, movement during the 1971 freedom struggle, and their youth wing, the Chhatro Shibir, is also part of this movement now. And of course, you also have those elements, especially the pro-Pakistan element that is very unhappy with the government of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for having gone after them hammer and tongs. There's a very significant sentiment in Bangladesh that those who perpetrated genocide in 1971, responsible for a very large number of deaths of people, a rape of a very large number of women at that time, should have been brought to justice. And there was a very strong call for retributive justice. And Sheikh Hasina responded to that because she herself is a victim of that movement, and she herself, I think, felt that there was a strong sentiment that very major violators of human rights in 1971 should be brought to book. And a number of people, whether it is the Jamaat-e-Islami's the president of the Jamaat-e-Islami, or people who were involved in heinous crimes, war crimes in 1971, were actually brought to the gallows and executed after a court war crimes trial took place. So these elements are very, very strongly, I think, opposed to Sheikh Hasina for what she's done. And I'm not surprised that there are reports that Pakistan's ISI is also dabbling in this movement, and some support is being given to them to be able to take that movement forward in an anti-government perspective.
That's an interesting point that you make, because with regards to the Pakistani ISI's alleged involvement, and also the role that the BNP plays. For our viewers to understand this, BNP is the same very party which decided not to participate in the elections as you highlighted. I also want to bring in the focus on what the BNP essentially did just before the elections that were held in Bangladesh, knocking at the doors of the Joe Biden administration, hoping that there would be some sort of a US intervention really taking place. Hence, the focus on foreign intervention, alleged foreign intervention in the current protests. I want you to help our viewers to understand why the BNP is more of a threat, a concern at this point in time, because they would largely benefit from an unstable Bangladesh at this point in time.
Well, we have to first understand where the BNP is coming from. Because if you saw that, when they were in government and, Khaleda Zia was in government from 2001 to 2006, they had actually openly encouraged anti-India insurgencies and terrorist groups to operate out of Bangladesh. These safe havens that were offered and the support that the BNP government offered them enabled them to wreak havoc in our northeast and parts of India bordering Bangladesh. And I think, support to terrorism, support to insurgencies is part of their makeup. And if you look at the fact that they not only refuse to participate in 2 general elections, but are always willing to come out to the streets to indulge in arson and violence, I think it is a characteristic that you can see from 2008, 2014, and possibly in 2019 also. And of course, their main leader, who's Tariq Zia, who's the son of Khaleda Zia, lives in London. So he's sitting in London, but he controls the party. He instructs the party on what to do with regard to the actions on the ground. And it is not surprising that they are supported by some very, very significant lobby groups, which I think are supported not just from Bangladesh, from elsewhere as well, from agencies that are elsewhere. And these lobby groups openly lobby the UK, the US and other governments on the behalf of the BNP and the Jamaat, and of course try and bring as much pressure they can bear on Bangladesh. But our view has always been that you must participate in democratic elections in order to make that difference. I mean, not participating in elections, indulging in violence and arson, taking your issue to third countries and other elements that are outside your country is not conducive to democracy and the functioning of democracy in Bangladesh.
Ambassador Shringla, because there is a growing concern of foreign intervention. The reason being of what Sheikh Hasina just a few days ago had to also say, because, and I'm quoting this, she says this was something that she had told the alliance leaders, that there is a plot to carve out a Christian state like East Timor. And during the January 7th polls, Sheikh Hasina had alleged that a white man had offered her a hassle-free re-election in the 7th January polls, provided she allowed a foreign country to establish an airbase in Bangladesh territory. That's the reason why many would be worried at this point in time as to what's really happening in Bangladesh, and can we really ignore the possibility of a foreign hand?
Well, I cannot comment on what is, seen as speculation. But I think it is clear that, obviously the country is subject to pulls and pressures from outside. Chinese influence has grown dramatically within Bangladesh. They have not only extended loans, to Bangladesh, but also in a certain sense, I think, there is always the risk of Bangladesh going the Sri Lanka way because of an over-dependence on those loans. The link between China and the Bangladesh army also is a matter of concern. And I think Bangladesh, it's important that Bangladesh maintains its territorial integrity and sovereignty, and that for us, Bangladesh has to be a partner country with whom we have strong people-to-people connect. We certainly want Bangladesh to be a peaceful and stable neighbor, and we don't want to see great power rivalry in Bangladesh. We want to see Bangladesh free of those pulls and pressures, but those can't be wished away. And with an increasing Chinese involvement in Bangladesh, it is bound to give rise to other interests coming in, and I think it's important for Bangladesh to have a balanced policy where they are not tilting too much to one side or the other, and that I think is very important, considering that there have been attempts on the Chinese side to have a preponderant role in Bangladesh, through loans, through grants, through essentially a policy of that lacks transparency, a policy that I think to my mind would lead to indebtedness, also a garnering of resources, whether it is the question of ports, providing defense equipment, having submarines, supporting submarine bases. All of this is a matter of concern. And once you start, pandering to those interests or allowing those interests to come up, I think you will automatically invite a certain level of trade power rivalry, because there will be an attempt at balance. And so I think it is a salutary lesson that you should not be too preponderantly engaged with any party that seeks to bring a certain level of militarization, a certain level of vested interests into the country that is ultimately not in your long-term interests. I mean, India has always pursued a policy that is based on mutual respect for their sovereignty, and of course, everything that we do has to be of mutual benefit. So whatever we do has to benefit both Bangladesh and India, and vice versa. And that policy over the last 15 years has held us in very good stead. And over the last 10 years, I think we have achieved more with Bangladesh than we have achieved in the last 35 years of its existence. So when Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina refer to the relationship as a Shonali Adhyay, I think it is a reflection of the sort of progress that we have made and the tremendous gains that have been to the benefit of people of both our countries. Bangladesh has ensured that no terrorist activity, no radicalism, no insurgencies from their territory can impact on India. And in our turn, we have ensured that we have provided very, very concessional loans and grants to Bangladesh. We have looked at every way of supporting Bangladesh in its developmental journey. And from that perspective, I think the two countries have come a long way. And the people of both our countries have benefited greatly. But that is a relationship that is unique. And we don't want a great power interest to come in. We don't want a, sort of a great power rivalry in our immediate backyard.
Ambassador Shringla, since you make a mention of China, and this is something that, while one would say, is it some sort of a speculation or not, but one can't really brush aside the fact that there is a sequence of events. On 8th of July, you've had Sheikh Hasina visiting China. And look at the developments that took place. The meeting that lasted with the Chinese President Xi Jinping was less than about 30 minutes. No minister called on Sheikh Hasina. She was supposed to talk about the $5 billion loan from China. There's no word on that. And given the fact that many had touted, particularly the Western media, as a failed trip of Sheikh Hasina to China, and just about a following week later, you see the kind of protests that are taking place on the streets of Dhaka. Is there any sort of correlation?
Well, let me narrate a small story on which is very much relevant to what you're saying. In 2017, when I was High Commissioner in Bangladesh, just before Sheikh Hasina landed on a state visit to India, I was at the airport and I was surprised to see that the Prime Minister drove up. And this is a surprise because this was not part of the protocol. But Prime Minister himself came to the airport. He received Sheikh Hasina. And this is one of the first times that the Prime Minister had done that. He had only done that for President Obama and the UAE Crown Prince at that time. And I think the impact it created on Sheikh Hasina, the Bangladesh delegation with her, and the entire country was electrifying. Now, contrast it with what happened when Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina went to China, and the reports we hear was that Xi Jinping said that basically deal with our Prime Minister. As you say, he gave half an hour of cursory attention. I think even at the level of the Prime Minister, the attention was not what Bangladesh expected. Bangladesh is a sovereign country. They are sensitive about these matters, and it does make a difference when you're treated like a junior partner rather casually. And this is the contrast between our handling, and we always treat Bangladesh as an equal partner. We have always looked at Bangladesh as a friend, and I think we have never try to use our preponderance in terms of size, our economy, etc., in any manner that is detrimental to Bangladesh, when we have any engagement with them. So I think it is something that did impact adversely on the Bangladesh psyche. I don't think people in that country liked the way their leader was treated, because at the end of the day she represents the country. And clearly that has had an impact in terms of what Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina also said. She said that the Teesta project is something that she would prefer that India takes up and not China. So essentially, that and the linkage with the fallout in what is happening is circumstantial. I cannot comment on that, but nothing can be ruled out in today's days of real politic and interference that countries habitually do in other countries' affairs, especially when there is an opportunity to, as I said, get involved in muddied waters.
Ambassador Shringla, since you make a mention of the Teesta restoration project, which is a $1 billion project, and Sheikh Hasina, very uncharacteristic of a head of the state to essentially say something like, China is ready, but I want India to do the project. China's made us an offer to us. They did a feasibility study. India has also made an offer. We'll do a feasibility study. She's essentially seen as giving a larger priority to India at this point in time. Do you believe the kind of statements that Sheikh Hasina has made in favor of India, something that has irked the Chinese, and it could have its own ramifications? So how do you really look at it? Because this is a critical project as far as India is concerned. India's geopolitical standpoint on this entire matter makes it very, very clear that the proximity between India and Bangladesh becomes abundantly clear from this very project.
So as I said, it is, clearly this is from Bangladesh's perspective an important project. It involves development of the Teesta Basin downstream of Ghazaldoba and Dalia, which are the 2 points that the Teesta crosses the international border into Bangladesh. And the fact that the Prime Minister of Bangladesh has indicated a preference for India to do it tells its own story. So as I said, everything is circumstantial, and you can only infer from comments and from various press reports that you see. But clearly, I think there is a preference and there's a recognition of India's, I would say, very, very positive, friendly approach to Bangladesh and respectful approach to Bangladesh. And in contrast, I think there is a certain sense that the Chinese have not really reciprocated in the manner that Bangladesh would have wanted. So you can only draw inferences. I mean, I cannot say with any level of certainty that there is a link between the two. But clearly, coming back from China, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina indicating a preference for India to do this project says a lot for the relationship that our two countries enjoy today, and our two prime ministers. The connect between the two prime ministers is also very important, and I know that Prime Minister Modi has an excellent relationship with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and that really matters in interstate relations.
Ambassador Shringla, many say in the circles here in the national capital that you've had a rich experience in Bangladesh. So there would be many stories, untold stories of your days in Bangladesh, your experience with the Prime Minister in Bangladesh. What is it that you can tell our viewers in terms of the personal relationship that Sheikh Hasina has shared with Indian leaders? A story that you would like to tell us?
Well, some stories are best left untold. But the fact of the matter is that I have seen a very strong chemistry between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. When Prime Minister Modi visited Bangladesh for their 50th anniversary, when he was the chief guest at that event in 2021, he made it a point to visit Tungipada, which is the birthplace of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and the family. It's like a very revered spot for the family of Sheikh Hasina, and there the entire immediate family, I mean Sheikh Hasina, her cousins, their children, her sister Rehana, the entire sort of close knit family, which are descendants of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, were in that small room in Tungipada, and Prime Minister Modi was there. I happened to be there, and it was a very warm and convivial I mean, like a familial sort of get together, and I think that exemplifies in many senses the relationship not only between our two countries but between the two leaders. And of course, Prime Minister Modi, as I said, he made that exceptional gesture of going to the airport to receive Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. I mean, you've seen so many international visits taking place. Where do you see heads of state, government actually going themselves to the airport? No protocol calls for it. But here was Prime Minister Modi, who was at the airport in 2017. He received Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina personally. There were about 250 people who came out of that aircraft, part of a delegation, and everyone absolutely wanted a selfie with Prime Minister Modi, and he was patient enough to take selfies with each and every of the delegates, and I think it had a huge impact. As I said, I mean, these are gestures that really matter to the people of Bangladesh, and I think those are the gestures that Prime Minister Modi exhibited, and it is an indication of the manner in which he regarded his relationship with his counterpart and with that country.
Ambassador Shringla, I would like to end the interview just to get an understanding of what lies ahead. Should India be worried about the current situation in Bangladesh?
So if you see the student protests, I think there are some underlying factors that are there. Although ostensibly the reason is linked to the quota, but that is only the tip of the concerns that are there. COVID-19 and the Ukraine conflict that followed has been very hard for Bangladesh. I think it extracted a huge price in terms of the rising cost of fuel, food and fertilizers that Bangladesh imports. At the same time, remittances decreased. The demand for garments and other goods that Bangladesh exports to the West also fell. So their foreign exchange reserves dipped. Inflation has been at very high rates. And all of this impacts on the common man. So all of this is now, in some senses coming up to the surface. And those underlying factors need to be addressed. I mean, peace and stability in Bangladesh also depends on continued growth, development, and a certain sense at the public level that they are moving forward and that they are looking at a better future. I mean, I can only say that I can't overemphasize the fact that a peaceful, stable, and prosperous Bangladesh is in our very, very strong interest, because anything to the contrary will, lead to instability on our borders, on our northeast, in West Bengal, and this is something that we cannot afford to have. And so stabilizing Bangladesh, assisting it in any manner in overcoming some of the larger challenges that beset the country is important. There are also allegations of corruption, misgovernance, certain elements within government who are preponderant. And I think all of these concerns are there at the public level. I'm only articulating what I read in the media, etc. And those also need to be addressed. You need to focus on a government that delivers, but is seen to be delivering with a certain level of efficiency, and that there are certain reforms that are necessary, because at the start of a 16th year in government, I think you do need to bring in reforms that would indicate that you're moving with the times and you're moving within the aspirations or meeting the aspirations of the people of Bangladesh, especially the youth who are out in the streets today.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador Shringla, for taking out the time and speaking to us, putting this into perspective, because many would say that what led to these protests and whether at all there is a resolution in sight. Thank you very much.
Hay 50 muertos que fueron asesinados por ella prácticamente y el Poder Judicial y otros poderes no dicen nada. Entonces nosotros creemos que es el pueblo quien tiene que hacer esa denuncia y estamos por eso en este momento en las calles.
Amnistía dijo lo que es la realidad y la verdad. Dina Boluarte es responsable de la masacre, más de 80 muertos y más de 1000 heridos. Y ella tiene que salir e irse a la cárcel.
Es una marcha donde la ciudadanía quiere decirle al gobierno y al Congreso que basta de abusos, basta de atropellos, que están trabajando de manera conjunta en contra de los intereses de la gran mayoría. Y eso es levantar la voz y reclamar eso de manera pacífica.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
বাংলাদেশের বর্তমান পরিস্থিতি যদি আমরা দেখি, বাংলাদেশে এখন মনে হয় না কোনো মুক্তিযুদ্ধের ছেলেমেয়ে চাকরি করার বয়সে আছে। তো অলরেডি যেহেতু এক জেনারেশন সুবিধা পাইছেই, সেহেতু আমরা মনে করি নাতি নাতনিদের সুবিধা পাওয়ার দরকার আছে। কেন দরকার নাই? কারণ আমি যদি মুক্তিযুদ্ধ করি, আমার ক্ষতির কারণে হয়তো আমার ছেলে মেয়ে ইফেক্টেড হবে, নট তার নাতিপুতি। এজন্য মুক্তিযুদ্ধের একটা জেনারেশনকে যেহেতু সুবিধা দেওয়া যায় এবং যেহেতু দেওয়া হয়েছে, এজন্য আমরা এটার বিরুদ্ধে প্রতিরোধ করছি, আর দেওয়া যাবে না। এবং আমরা কিন্তু কোটা সম্পূর্ণ বাদ দেওয়ার কথা বলতেছি না, আমরা বলতেছি সংস্কারের কথা।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
हमने डिटेल में सारा पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के फ्लोर लीडर से उनका मत को लिया, सुझाव को लिया, हमने नोट किया और आग्रह भी किया कि हम मिल के बजट सेशन को अच्छी तरह से हम चलाएंगे।
Countdown to Budget 2024 begins. It's populism versus fiscal prudence this year.
Rahul Gandhi has not even apparently read even the foreword and the preface of the constitution copy published by the EBC, which he waives.
BJP MP Anurag Thakur launches a fiery attack on Rahul Gandhi. States Congress party not only changed the constitution but arrested the entire opposition. Bangladesh top court orders 93% of the government jobs to be allocated on a merit-based system after protests. Bangladesh Law Minister Anisul Haq speaks exclusively to Republic TV on Bangladesh Supreme Court's decision to scale back the job quota. NTA releases centre-wise data on NEET. Over 4,000 students scored 600 and above in Rajasthan's Sikar. Nipah virus returns to haunt Kerala. 14-year-old from Malappuram dies just hours after testing positive. And Samajwadi Party raises Kanwar Yatra diktat by Yogi government at the all-party meeting in New Delhi. Objects to the display of name of the owners of the shops along the Kanwar Yatra route. A very good evening, viewers. Ahead of the inaugural general budget of the Modi 3.0, the leaders of the NDA and the opposition India Alliance came together for an all-party meeting in the national capital. And briefing the media at the end of this meeting was Union Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Kiren Rijiju, who said that 55 leaders across party lines were part of the discussions. Here's a report to know the inside details.
The ruling alliance and the opposition parties came together for an all-party meeting ahead of the presentation of the union budget. While 55 leaders from 44 parties attended the meeting, the TMC was conspicuous by its absence. The meeting was chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and also featured BJP heavyweights JP Nadda, Kiren Rijiju and Arjun Ram Meghwal. Addressing the media after the meeting, Rijiju said that the talks went off well and Centre took note of the suggestions of the opposition.
55 कुल मिलाकर के लीडर्स का आज बैठक हुई. हमने डिटेल में सारा पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के फ्लोर लीडर्स से उनका मत को लिया, सुझाव को लिया, हमने नोट किया और आग्रह भी किया कि हम मिल के बजट सेशन को अच्छी तरह से हम चलाएंगे. और सबका मेंबर्स का बहुत सारा विषय इन्होंने सजेशन किया है. हम उसका सेंस को समझते हुए राज्यसभा में आदरणीय चेयरमैन और लोकसभा में आदरणीय स्पीकर दोनों से चर्चा करके बिजनेस एडवाइजरी कमेटी के बैठक में हम इसको आगे कैसे ले जाना है आगे चर्चा करेंगे.
However, striking an unpleasant note, the Congress demanded that the post of Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha should go to the opposition.
ये गवर्नमेंट हमेशा अपोजिशन को निगलेक्ट करते ही आई और अच्छी बात रखने के लिए कभी मौका नहीं दिया. और जो जनता के तकलीफात है वो अगर पार्लियामेंट में हो, राज्यसभा में रखना चाहते हैं तो उसको कभी मौका नहीं मिलता, क्योंकि सरकार वो नहीं चाहती कि उनके जो फेल्यूअर्स है लोगों को मालूम हो, तो इसीलिए वो लोग मौका नहीं देते और खुद ये सारी चीज़ें तय करती है गवर्नमेंट.
Ally Samajwadi Party also raised the vexed up government's diktat for the Kanwar Yatra that has evoked polarized views across the country. Shiromani Akali Dal MP Harsimrat Badal said the opposition also raised farmers' issues and floods at the meeting.
चाहे देश में फैलते हुए ड्रग्स का इशू है, पानी कहीं पे फ्लड हो रहा है, किसान का उसका नुकसान हो रहा है. कई पार्टियों का एक राज्य में पानी के मुद्दे को लेके कुछ बोलते हैं, साथ के राज्य में जाके जैसे हमारा SYL का मुद्दा है तो SYL चाहे कांग्रेस हो, चाहे बीजेपी हो, चाहे आम आदमी पार्टी हो, पंजाब में बोलते हैं कि पंजाब का पानी पंजाब में रहेगा. हरियाणा में हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जाते हैं तो मुद्दा का स्टैंड कुछ और हो जाता है और अदालत में कोई तीसरा स्टैंड है. सो ये एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा कि पानी का मुद्दा डिस्कस होना चाहिए ताकि सबका स्टैंड क्लियर हो और देशवासियों को पता लगे कि कौन सी पार्टी कहाँ पे खड़ी. ये दोगली राजनीति बंद होए.
While Rajnath urged parties across the aisle to enable a productive budget session of Parliament, there are fears that the appeal to the opposition to end its disruptive ploys may again fall on deaf ears.
Viewers, Lieutenant General Chanira Bansi Ponappa, who is currently serving as the Adjutant General of the Indian Army, has said that about 1 lakh Agniveers have been enrolled in the army. The Lieutenant General also said that the Agniveers are undertaking all the actions, operational and other professional duties, just like any other sepoys or the sepoys recruits on the ground. Take a look at this report.
As you are aware that since June 22, scheme was launched, and then we had the first batch which was recruited and enrolled in December 22 onward, January 23, they entered the service. Approximately 1 lakh Agniveers have been enrolled in the army. Out of this also includes about 200 women. Approximately 70,000 have already been dispatched to the units, are performing extremely well in the battalions, and are deployed in various field and peace units out there. This includes about 100 women police also. Around 50,000 vacancies have been released in this year, 2024-25, and the recruitment process is ongoing as we speak. We are just finished with the online exam. The rallies are started and they are ongoing.
Viewers, Nipah has come to haunt Kerala once again, and after the outbreak of Nipah virus in Malappuram, Kerala Health Minister Veena George says that the state is fully prepared to tackle the issue. Now, this comes right after a 14-year-old boy tested positive for Nipah and also lost his life. Listen into this report.
It was 19th of May 2018 when the first case of Nipah virus broke out, and before we knew, there were 19 deaths. It made a comeback in 2021, then it was back in 2023, and this time in 2024, Kerala Health Minister Veena George on July 20th confirmed yet another Nipah infection in a 14-year-old boy from Malappuram district. As per sources, a team of doctors from Australia are coming to treat the boy, who is currently on ventilator. George emphasized that precautionary measures have been swiftly initiated in response, and that contact tracing is currently the primary focus of their efforts.
ജില്ലയിൽ നിന്ന് നിപ്പ സസ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്ത 14 വയസ്സുള്ള കുട്ടിയുടെ സാമ്പിൾ ഫലം NIV പൂനെ സ്ഥിരീകരിച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അത് നിപ്പ പോസിറ്റീവാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ ആ സ്ഥിരീകരണം ലഭിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ഇനി ഇതിനനുസരിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള, ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ മീറ്റിങ്ങിന് ശേഷം സൂചിപ്പിച്ചതുപോലെ, ഇതിനനുസരിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള നടപടിക്രമങ്ങൾ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് കോൺടാക്ട് ട്രേസിംഗ് വളരെ വളരെ പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ടതാണ്.
Authorities are currently categorizing individuals into low and high risk categories for targeted testing, while priority is being given to testing those identified in the high risk category. The state government had announced recently that a special action calendar was being prepared for the prevention of a Nipah outbreak, which has haunted the state on 4 occasions in the past.
Now, a major tragedy struck Kedarnath Yatra pilgrims as 3 of them lost their lives and 1 has been injured due to a landslide near the Kedarnath Yatra mark in Chirbasa. In fact, the search for the pilgrims is also underway. Take a look.
A major landslide at Kedarnath Yatra at 7:30 a.m. has tragically killed 3 pilgrims. 1 person was also injured due to falling of stones from a hill near Kedarnath Yatra mark, Chirbasa. Search for the other passengers continues. District Disaster Management Officer Nandan Singh Rajwar said that some passengers were reported to be buried under the debris due to soil and heavy stones falling. Rescue team pulled out 3 people from the debris who were found dead, and an injured person was pulled out after giving him first aid. Information is being collected about the 3 deceased persons as to which state and place they had come from to visit Kedarnath. The injured person is being treated after being admitted to the temporary hospital built on the Kedarnath Yatra mark. Teams of NDRF, DDR, YMF administration are engaged in relief and rescue on the spot. As of now, the situation is under control and the route of the yatra has been slightly changed, keeping in view of the relief and rescue operations.
Now, the centre-wise publication of the NEET UG 2024 results has raised fresh concerns over glaring scoring anomalies, as a number of aspirants scoring over 600 at select centres in Rajasthan and Maharashtra have been found to be way more than the national average. Watch this report to know more.
The centre-wise publication of the NEET UG results has raised fresh questions on the sanctity of the exam's conduct. Over 75 NEET UG aspirants from each exam centre in Rajasthan's Shikar have scored more than 600. At some centres, as many as 150 aspirants scored over 600. A deep dive into the centre-wise results show that the number of NEET aspirants scoring 600 plus in Shikar is way above the national average.
The Central Bureau of Investigation have arrested students who not only belong to the medical field but also from the engineering field, who were trying to be a part of the paper solver gang. And in this now, a wide nexus is being exposed of how actually this paper nexus gang was operating. With the Supreme Court directions, the NTA has also revealed the district-wise and center-wise data on the marks that were scored by the students, and this has led to more controversy, with students and petitioners now pointing out that how specific centers in certain districts like Sikar, Latur were being given undue benefits.
At a centre in Aravali Public School, over 90 out of 942 candidates scored over 600 and 7 above 700. Similarly, the percentage of aspirants scoring 550 plus in Maharashtra's Latur is 9.58%, which is way above 6.17% overall. Meanwhile, Congress leader Gaurav Gogoi brought up the NEET concerns at the pre-budget all-party meeting on Sunday. With more anomalies coming to the fore, a lot more needs to be done to restore the students' faith in the country's system to hold exams.
The days of the NDA government are numbered. That's what the Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav had to say when he was sharing the stage with the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee in Kolkata. Mamata Banerjee and Akhilesh Yadav launched scathing attack against the BJP-led central government at a rally. And Mamata Banerjee, while she was addressing the rally, asserted that the government is unstable and predicted that the collapse is imminent. Take a look at this report.
West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee launched a scathing attack on the BJP-led central government, stating that it is not stable and can collapse anytime. Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav, who attended the TMC's Martyrs' Day rally in Kolkata on Banerjee's invitation, said the government will fall sooner or later. Mamata Banerjee congratulated Akhilesh Yadav and slammed the BJP government.
बंगाल का साथ मैं चाहती हूँ हिंदुस्तान का रिलेशन अच्छा हो। अरे शुरुआत हुआ आपका लिए, आपने आके हम लोगों को बहुत हम आपको शुक्रिया अदा करती हूँ। हम आपको पार्टी को, समाजवादी पार्टी को पहले अभिनंदन करने चाहूँगी कि यूपी में जो खेल आपने दिखाया, अभी तो बीजेपी को रिज़ाइन करना चाहिए था, लेकिन उसको शर्म कम होता है। आपको थोड़ा से दिन इंतज़ार करने पड़ेगा, लेकिन आपका साथ मैं सहमत हूँ कि दिल्ली में जो गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी लगा के, इलेक्शन कमीशन को लगा के, डरा के जो गवर्नमेंट ले आया, वो स्टेबल गवर्नमेंट नहीं है। कोई भी दिन वो जा सकता है, जैसे कभी धूप आता है, बारिश होता है, उसका बाद ऐसे बहुत दिन हो गया। Enough is enough.
She also said that their fight will go on.
अपन को मिटा दिया, हम नहीं करेंगे, हम लड़ेंगे। और हम ये विश्वास करते हैं रोशनी चाँद से होता है, सितारों से नहीं, मोहब्बत तृणमूल से होता है और किसी से नहीं। खुद ही को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे, बता तेरी राजा क्या है।
Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav also took a jibe at the BJP.
आप लोगों ने मिलकर के यहाँ मुकाबला किया, बीजेपी को हटा दिया, पीछे छोड़ दिया, यूपी भी आपके साथ रह करके पीछे छोड़ दिया। ये जो सत्ता में कुछ दिन के लिए आए हैं, ये कुछ दिन के मेहमान हैं। मैंने लोकसभा में भी कहा और आज भी कहता हूँ, जो दिल्ली में सरकार में बैठे लोग हैं, वो सरकार चलने वाली नहीं है, वो सरकार गिरने वाली है। और हम और आप लोग देखेंगे एक दिन कि यही सरकार गिरेगी और हमारे आपके लिए खुशियों के दिन भी आएंगे।
Mamata Banerjee went on to speak about the composition of women MPs in the Trinamool Congress.
মঙ্গলবার ইলেকশনেও জিতিয়েছেন, এমপি ইলেকশনের সাথে সাথে। আজকে গর্ব করে আমি মা মাটি মানুষকে কৃতজ্ঞতা জানাচ্ছি। মনে রাখবেন, বাংলা একমাত্র জায়গা যেখানে আমাদের ইলেক্টেড মেম্বার হচ্ছে পার্লামেন্টে 38%।
The BJP said that the TMC should introspect on the authoritarian underpinning that's shaping the political landscape in Bengal.
It's ironical that the left parties today are in alliance with the TMC in the Indie bloc. But today should be not just a remembrance day for the martyrs, but an introspection day for TMC. Because today TMC has become even more repressive, more authoritarian, and more violent than the left regime of 34 years of West Bengal. In fact, today the manner in which Ma Mati Manush has been replaced by Bhashtachari Bachao, Balatkari Bachao, Bum Blast Karne Wale Ko Bachao. Whether it's Sandesh Khali, whether it's Uttar Dinajpur, whether it's Howrah, and all of these actions against women have been justified and defended by no less than Mamata Banerjee. And therefore today it should be a day of introspection, not just a day of remembrance.
As tensions escalate and alliances strengthen, will Mamata Banerjee and Akhilesh Yadav's bold assertions pave the way for a significant shift in India's political landscape?
Now, the Yogi government's controversial diktat to eatery owners to display the names of the owners of the shops for the Kanwar Yatra along the Kanwar Yatra route has drawn more criticism from NDA allies. First, it was LJP's Chirag Paswan. Now it's Jayant Chaudhary of the RLD. RLD chief says that no one considers religion or caste when it comes to accepting service at the eateries. In fact, the RLD chief has urged the UP government to, in fact, rethink this decision. What's this report?
Amid the firestorm over protests over the Yogi government's diktat to eatery owners for Kanwar Yatra, Jayant Chaudhary has put the NDA in a spot. Speaking to media persons, Jayant says service at eateries should not be viewed through the prism of religion or caste. The RLD chief adds that no one accepts service on the basis of religious considerations, as people across faiths cater to Kanwar pilgrims. While the UP government has defended the order, Jayant says the Yogi regime still has time to pull it back.
इस इशू पे हमारे प्रदेश अध्यक्ष बोल चुके हैं, वही पार्टी का स्टैंड है। और जो कावड़ लेके जाते हैं उनकी सेवा में सभी लोग लगते हैं। ना तो कावड़ लेके जाने वाला व्यक्ति कोई पहचान करता है, जो सेवादार है उनकी वो एक आशीर्वाद की तरह वो प्राप्त करते हैं, ग्रहण करते हैं और आगे चलते हैं अपने काम। कोई इस हिसाब से जाति या धर्म के पहचान करके सेवा नहीं लेता और ना ही इस मामले को धर्म जाति से जोड़ा जाना चाहिए।
He adds that the Yogi government is adamant on not revoking the order, as a decision on it has already been taken. Several top opposition leaders have already come out against the order, calling it a divisive and unconstitutional one.
कोई सरकार संविधान के खिलाफ ऑर्डर पास करती है तो भारत सरकार को उसका नोट लेना चाहिए, उनके पास अख्तियार है। ये इस तरह से जो ऑर्डर निकालकर आर्टिकल 17 का वायलेशन है संविधान का, अनटचेबिलिटी को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, राइट टू लाइफ के खिलाफ है, आप लाइवलीहुड के खिलाफ है, आर्टिकल 19 के खिलाफ है। और ये आप होते कौन है भाई? तो ये सिर्फ नफरत की निशानी है, मुसलमानों के खिलाफ खुली डिस्क्रिमिनेशन किए जा रहे, अपार्थाइड है, ये तो क्लियर कट अपार्थाइड है। और हम विकसित भारत की बात कर रहे हैं या फिर हिटलर की भारत की बात कर रहे हैं?
With Jayant now coming out openly against the UP government's nameplate order, one has to wait and watch if Yogi blinks and bites the bullet.
In some more news, Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi met with Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha today to discuss the prevailing security dynamics in the region. Now, General Dwivedi assured the LG of a synergistic approach by the armed forces and security agencies to tackle the current situation and maintain peace and stability. He also chaired a high-level joint security review meeting in Jammu, focusing on thwarting the designs of terrorists and anti-national elements. Bathinda police have arrested 3 drug smugglers and recovered 1.5 kilograms of heroin, marking a significant crackdown on drug trafficking in the region. The operation highlights the ongoing efforts to combat drug-related crimes in Punjab.
ये बठिंडा शहर के अंदर हमारे जो है एसपी सिटी, डीएसपी सिटी 1, एसएचओ कनाल, इनकी टीम का इनपुट था। इसमें पीसीआर का भी इनपुट रहा। तो इन्होंने जो है एक नशा तस्कर, नशा बेचने वाला जो व्यक्ति है तरसेम सिंह और सोमा, उसको गिरफ्तार किया है। उसके साथ ही करणप्रीत सिंह को गिरफ्तार किया और इनसे जो है 1 किलो 5 ग्राम हेरोइन बरामद की गई है, 2 कार्स बरामद की गई हैं और 2,65,000 रुपये का ड्रग मनी भी बरामद किया गया।
Authorities in Kerala taking preventive steps after the death of a 14-year-old boy from Nipah virus and the identification of 60 people in the high-risk category. The state's health minister said Nipah is classified as a priority pathogen by the World Health Organization because of its potential to trigger an epidemic. Reacting to rumours about DMK Minister Udayanidhi Stalin potentially being appointed as Tamil Nadu Deputy Chief Minister, AIADMK leader D. Jayakumar remarked that Udayanidhi's only qualification is being the son of MK Stalin. In fact, he further claimed that Udayanidhi is the de facto Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, questioning why MK Stalin cannot appoint one of the senior members in the party, instead labelling the situation as dynasty politics.
Naturally, qualification should be the qualification to Udayanidhi, that too the son of the Mr. Stalin. That is the main qualification. No other qualifications.
Now, in a massive development amid the rising street protests in India's neighborhood, the Bangladesh Supreme Court scaled back the contentious job quota that stoked the civilian unrest. Republic, in fact, spoke to Bangladesh Law Minister to get his first reaction on the Supreme Court's verdict. Watch this report to know the latest.
Amid mounting unrest, Bangladesh Supreme Court has passed a key verdict scaling back the job quotas. The Attorney General, however, says that 5% civil service jobs would be reserved for the children of war veterans. Another 2% jobs in the civil service will be reserved for other categories entitled to quotas. The verdict comes in the backdrop of violent student protests with the law enforcers struggling to restore order. Republic also spoke to the Bangladesh Law Minister Asinul Haq. Listen into the first reaction of the Bangladesh Law Minister on the Supreme Court's verdict.
সুপ্রিম কোর্টের যে রায়টা, যুগান্তকারী রায়টা, সেটার বিষয়ে আপনার একটু প্রতিক্রিয়া চাইছিলাম।
আমি তো বেলা 4টার সময় প্রেস কনফারেন্স দেখেছি, আমি তো আমার প্রতিক্রিয়া দেব।
হ্যাঁ, ওটাতেই আমরা ভারতে এটা নিয়ে খুব বড় রায় এবং যেভাবে আপনারা এই পুরো ব্যাপারটাকে ট্যাকল করছেন সেটা নিয়ে যদি একটু প্রথম প্রতিক্রিয়া দিতেন রিপাবলিক বাংলাকে।
না, ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে যে আমি এখন অর্ডারটা আমার অফিসে যাচ্ছি, আমি অর্ডারটা ওখানে পেয়েছি, আমি অর্ডারটা পড়বো। আমি অর্ডারটা পড়ে আমি যতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত না বুঝবো কি অর্ডার দিয়েছে আমি ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত বুক খুলবো না। আমার অর্ডারটা পড়তে হবে, অর্ডারটা পড়ার পরে আমি এই অর্ডারটার ব্যাখ্যা বুঝে আমার প্রতিক্রিয়া।
Earlier, a shoot-at-sight order was given to the police as a curfew and a clampdown on the internet services remained in force. India's Ministry of External Affairs, meanwhile, informed that over 1,000 Indians in Bangladesh, mostly students, have been repatriated. Republic reached the immigration center at the international border in Dauki, Meghalaya. Take a look at this report.
We are at the integrated immigration checkpost at Dauki, and we are inside the immigration center now. And as you can see, the students from India, Nepal and Bhutan has arrived, and their immigration process is underway. The passports are being checked, all the data being collected, and once they pass through this immigration process, they will be formally making the entry into India as they return home from crisis-hit Bangladesh.
We also managed to interact with some of the students who returned home thanks to the efforts of the Indian government. Listen into what they had to say.
There is complete lockdown in the whole Bangladesh and also Sylhet also, and we are from Sylhet Women's Medical College, and our college is closed for up to since 1 week, and as we are final prof examinee, so we were facing lot of problems there. There were food crisis, and we cannot go outside, and we cannot brought things there, and all of the Bangladeshis, of course, they went to their homes and we were there, so Indian Embassy helped us a lot. Somewhat food crisis we faced, but we went from there, right? On the right time we went from there, and I think it's a big opportunity we get from the Indian Embassy. And if we stay there, then we can face the problems.
Meanwhile, the DIG of BSF informed that the force was in constant touch with its Bangladeshi counterpart BGB to enable the return of distressed Indians. The contentious quotas in civil service recruitment triggered massive protests in the Islamic Republic. Failing to stem the rising tide of civil unrest, the Bangladesh government called in the army to restore order. It is to be seen now if the scaling back of the contentious quotas will stem the tide of violence on the streets of Bangladesh.
Thank you, Rani, for coming and being with us. Let me start by asking you, how did you discover Rani?
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. And I've had a wonderful relationship with Republic. And I have been an ardent fan of your conversations. So I consider it a privilege and an honor to be sitting here in front of you. My father will be very happy. Certain times I want to draw attention to what a celebratory moment it is for us as a community to be, as the transgender community in India is the oldest transgender community in the world. So when people ask me, you know, what is this? You choose one gender. You know, why are you so confused? Why is it shaking your gender if I'm living my gender? You know, so I always tell them that the relevance and जो transgender communities हैं हमारे भारत में in India, they've been there since time immemorial. Since the time in history, in cultural references, in scriptures, everywhere you see. So actually, जो transphobia, homophobia बोलते हैं ना, the first of all, homophobic is not कुछ आपने कोई तीर नहीं मारे हैं. It's actually an irrational fear. By definition, homophobia is an irrational fear. So when we talk about homophobia or transphobia, we're basically talking about your lack of knowledge and ignorance to an entire community of transgender people that has been there for very long.
Yes.
And I'm not saying कि मैं transgender हूँ तो आप भी बनिए. My thing is that I don't understand this one thing, that when I accepted, or I see so many of my sisters who accept themselves for who they are, suddenly some men and some women start quaking. They start shivering like this. But we don't shiver when you are in the room. So is my gender weak or is your gender shaking because of my presence? You know, so your manhood should not be affected if you're such a man. You know, and they'll be like, why don't you go to default settings? Well, I was in my default settings for 30 years of my life and I did pretty well for myself. I'm a double master's in psychology. बड़ा अच्छा लगता है ना जब audience ताली बजाती है और हमारे तालियों से डरती नहीं है. Whenever I'm on stage, when you know I was sharing the stage, the same stage that Beyonce, Rihanna, in a sari, I am in a sari or I'm in a ghagra and I'm doing my thing. और मैं अपनी रीजनल म्यूजिक को represent करती हूँ अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे, तो कौन से जेंडर में represent करती हूँ वो छोड़ो ना, आप आंख बंद करके गाना सुनो. It's that. So when I became Rani, I realized that, well, if you don't understand why I'm a certain way, you don't have to. I don't know how to fly a plane, but I got to Delhi from Mumbai. I sat at the back and I got here. I don't have to understand everything, but I can respect it from a distance. So I thought that, you know, when I became Rani, it was meant to be. And I guess when you see yourself in the mirror, जब आप अपने आप को देखते हैं, and you're like, ये कुछ तो, you know, कुछ तो है जो मतलब only I can evoke that out of myself, and that was Rani. And I think everybody has a Kohinoor inside them. It's about time to evoke that and celebrate it.
Tell us about your struggles. I mean, some of the toughest points in your journey to becoming Rani Kohinoor where you are today.
When it comes to transgender rights, it's human rights before politics. I think that policy making is a part and parcel of it, but at the very base of it, what are we asking you for? We're asking you for education, healthcare, and jobs.
Respect.
And of course, and with that will automatically come respect. But initially, what we need to understand is that there are many intersections. Even within my community, we also have many communities that are even more sidelined, based on caste, based on, you know, many.
There's casteism even.
Of course.
Wow.
My dear, we cannot ignore the fact that it's an abomination that we're dealing with for many years. Casteism, not just in my, in my community, in yours, and as in men and women, everywhere. Course, yes. And I think that that's something that we need to put forward. Like, I'm privileged because my parents didn't throw me out of the house. Otherwise, I would not be on the hoardings. I would be under them, selling myself. Yeah. And I think that's why if I have got a safe net, मगर मेरे माँ बाप ने मुझे नहीं निकाला घर से, तो मैं मेरी कला के द्वारा I will provide that safe net to my kids. You can be whatever you want. What was that struggle when we were doing those debates? There were people who used to say stuff to our face on national television.
I remember.
Yeah, but where are they now? Yeah. You know, here I am, putting India on the global map time and again in a wonderful sari every time. What are they doing? Still crying about what my... Now, come on, now the government has understood, the Supreme Court has given us, a recognition on paper as transgender people. So what do they want? तो मैं वापस ट्रांसजेंडर नहीं बनूंगी आपके वापस बोलने से ना, मैं तो हूँ. So that's nothing what you're telling me. You're describing me when you use these words in a derogatory way. I don't take it in a derogatory way. So you're making a fool out of yourself. It's like saying, "Ye mard." If I say that to you, you'll be like, "Okay, so वो तो मैं हूँ." तो अगर आप मेरे को हिजड़ा किन्नर ट्रांस बोलोगे, but I'm also successful. I'm a wonderful singer. I'm a wonderful friend. I'm a mother. I have started my career as a drag artist in a bar, and I have no shame.
Is that in Mumbai?
I have no shame. It's all over. I in fact started in Delhi, New Delhi, and then I went to Mumbai. Then I went to Kolkata, and Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Darjeeling, everywhere. I've gone literally in Jammu. So I have performed everywhere in this country majorly, and I'm so proud that people. ठीक है, people will be like, क्या है, अब ये कौन है, खुसरा है, छक्का है, they'll say all of that. But when I start singing, art has no gender.
True.
Art has no gender.
Well said.
So I thought, like, look at the audience. मैं गांव खेड़े में जाके गाती हूँ, अभी उनको क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है कि मेरा मेल फीमेल या अदर में टिक मार्क है. आप अच्छे सुर लगाओ, आप उनको नचाओ, आप उनका दिल जीतो, बस. That is my job as an artist, and for me to see my audience happy, बस मुझे और कुछ नहीं चाहिए. So I have realized that this is it.
I'm sure in everyone's journey there's someone who's your inspiration, a rock, and and how important has that been for you, and who has been that person / people?
When I'm lucky to be born to my parents. मेरे माता पिता इतने अच्छे इंसान हैं. मैंने कुछ पुण्य किए होंगे जो मुझे I got to be their child. So my mother and father for sure. And then my children, because they gave me the privilege to be a mother. My kids and my parents, I keep saying that I'm in the middle of two generations. I'm always in the middle, just like my gender. I'm always so blessed. I feel considered so blessed to have such a wonderful kids, wonderful parents. And I just want to make sure that every parent who's watching this knows कि please आप अपने बच्चे को अपनाएं, उनको प्यार दें, give them love, unconditional love, because they will make you so proud. That's the one thing they want. And they want you to, give them that reassurance that love, and it should be unconditional. It's not like I will love you because you're this. Yeah. I will love you because you're that. Because then you're not parents. आप सिर्फ एक मर्द और औरत हो. आप माँ बाप नहीं कहला सकते क्योंकि only a child will give birth to a parent. बिना बच्चे के आप क्या हो? आप ठीक है, आप मर्द या औरत हो ना. You're not a parent. So I would like to give that message to parents and be better, do better. You're in 2024, you can do better.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine having a conversation on a stage at a platform like this in 2010, for example. I'm just giving you an example. So
we used to, but
but in debates, in debates, right? What kind of changes do you see, Rani, in society's perception towards the LGBTQIA plus community now? Has it improved over the years? Is it better?
I would say it's better. In terms of certain policies that are made, I would like to celebrate the fact that India is one of the only countries that has a national portal for transgender people, where you can, kahin se bhi, anywhere in the country, you can go on this national transgender portal and you can fill in the form and get your transgender certificate, which is a documentation required to change your Aadhaar card and your documentation. It's a very easy process. So there are certain policies, I think we've come very, the NALSA judgment of 2014, I think not even the United States, not even any European country has given that level of respect in 2014 to a community which is a marginalized community based on gender. So there is every year, if we've seen the gender budget that comes out. Now the lopside of it is that policies are made, are they implemented? Maybe not as far as or as much as we would like, and that is shown to you how कि आपको मेरे जैसी ट्रांसजेंडर जो इंसान हैं आपको बहुत कम दिखेंगे जो मतलब स्पष्ट शब्दों में आपसे बात कर सके. They can be as articulate in many languages because of their education or the lack thereof. Why do you see so many of my sisters on the street? Do you think that they like to do that? Would you like to stand on the street and beg every day for a living when you know you are much more than that? Or would you like to do that? None of us would like to do that. And none of us would like to see our children do that. So they are also children of this country. We have to take accountability of it. You're not here to create ghetto cultures. You're here to provide for them. And we have, the National Institute of Social Defense doing wonderful work. And the Social Justice Ministry also has been doing wonderful work. But we have to come together to create an awareness in the people. People are what make a country. So if we are going to pretend like, okay, yeah, they're there, but you're going to feel bad, please don't feel bad for me. Please, I pay a lot of tax. I want my daughters, sisters also to be capable of being productive members of society. एक तो ये होता है कि ये ट्रांस है, ये तो वहाँ पर कितना पटपट इंग्लिश में बात करती है. Why not?
Has anybody said that to you?
Yes, of course. When they see me in a sari, they look at me, and you know how they have this preconceived notion, because Bollywood has done us no favors till very recently by casting us to play those roles. And I think you need to have a spine to actually call them out and say, you've made absolutely rubbish content, which is why your audience doesn't know about us. Once they understand us and once they understand our journeys, और उनको भी ये लगे कि हमारे भी माँ बाप है, हमारी भी आशाएं हैं, हम भी वही चीजें करना चाहते हैं जो आप करना चाहते हैं. But that's it. Once you understand you are as normal and human as you, then the conversation changes.
On this debate, when you spoke about the government taking steps to ensure there's inclusivity, right? And I saw a few comments on social media, people saying India's this is a very dangerous woke route that we are taking and we should be cautious. How do you respond to those people?
I don't respond to them.
But do you think it's important
for my mental health?
But do you think it's also important to respond to such people? You need a debate around that.
They're not paying my bills, na? Why should I respond to them? Now I may not like this conversation. I'm allowed to not like it. To question what I am, please question. You're not getting the answers. I'm not going to be answerable to you. How about you go and cry in a corner? You don't like me, you're not supposed to. But if you like me, please sit and enjoy my art. Please sit and enjoy the conversations I would love to have with you. If you don't, you know where the doors are. You
have a huge following on social media. How do you connect with people from the LGBTQIA community beyond work on gender-related topics? How important also is it to do that?
I live my life very authentically. मैं अपना देखती हूँ और अपने में ही अगर मैंने मेरी दुनिया ना इमीडिएट जो दुनिया है, मेरे बच्चे हैं, मेरे माता पिता हैं, मेरे दोस्त हैं, मेरे कॉलीग्स होते हैं, मैं उनको खुश रखने का जिम्मेदारी लेती हूँ, उनको खुश रखने की जिम्मेदारी लेती हूँ, बाकियों का नहीं ले सकती, बिकॉज इट्स अ वेरी डेंजरस predisposition that you are exposing yourself to. अब मैंने सबका ठेका लेके रख दिया, even in the community. I don't take the ठेका of everyone. I can't. One person cannot do that. So therefore, even for example, one single person cannot hold an entire country together and every department. So therefore you have cabinet. Yes, you have a cabinet, therefore you have different portfolios. So therefore, even in your personal life, you are supposed to designate that work to people. To, for example, I may not be able to do certain things in my house. I would require physical help, or I would require mental, spiritual help for some certain things. So when I make my content, अब मैं तो गाना गा रही हूँ ना, मैं थोड़ी मर्द औरत है ट्रांसजेंडर गाना गा रही हूँ, मैं तो वही सुर लगाती हूँ जो मर्द और औरत भी लगाते हैं, शायद उनसे 2-3 और ही लगाती हूँ, you know. But the thing is that when I sang, for example, with Sunidhi ma'am, my debut song in Bollywood was with Sunidhi Chauhan. अब ना उन्होंने थोड़ी मेरे को बोला कि नहीं मैं रानी के लिए गा रही हूँ. I performed the song. I was the first trans person to perform a song, sing and act in the same film. And recreate a song like Pari Hu Main,
Yeah.
okay, with Sunidhi Chauhan. Do you think that I sang a trance version of the same song in the same studio next to her? और उसने औरत वाला परी हूँ मैं गाया और मैंने हिजड़ा वाला गाया या मैंने ट्रांस वाला गाया. ये क्या, कहाँ से आते हैं ये सवाल ही, कहाँ से आते हैं? गाना गाना है, कला कला है. आप कला को एंजॉय कीजिए. कलाकार को जज करने का आपको ना किसी ने हक दिया है, ना आपका कुछ किसी को मतलब फर्क भी पड़ता है. आप कला को एंजॉय कीजिए, आंख बंद करके सुकून से बैठ के मेरे गाने को एंजॉय कीजिए. That's what I do.
Rani, I mean, you are the drag queen of India. So how's that journey been, and has there been any inspiration or a style icon for you?
Rekha ji. Okay. I think Rekha ji.
You dress a lot like Rekha ji.
Do you think so?
I think so.
She has gifted me 2 Kanjivaram saris when I was on Big Boss, and I defeated the girls in a dancing competition on her songs. So I did Salame Ishq, you know, and with her, जो कलाइयों में एक वो नज़ाकत होती है ना कलाइयों में, वो सिर्फ in from that genre, and in the eyes there's nritya, and you know, so with her, and in our culture, in Indian culture, we've got such wonderful dance forms, traditional, folk, classical. So Rekha ji is an amalgamation of, you know, little of everything. Yeah. And I think that she has been a style icon for me.
Have you gone through like really low moments? I mean, why don't you speak about them as well? I think it's important.
I think so. Yeah. Yes, because there are always going to be, like the waves, there are highs and lows, like the tide, right? So, and in life also, there is always going to this, it's never all the time good time. It's not always a party. It's not always rainbows and butterflies.
Of course.
No. But I think that once you understand that that is part and parcel of this journey, it becomes easier. You start, otherwise, looking at people, you know, please don't take, you know, people who only show you a colorful thing on the internet and all that. I'm very honest. Last month, my house burned down.
In Mumbai?
Yes. Okay. My house burned down to ashes. And I have to start again from scratch, right? At 34 now. And after spending 18 years in this industry as an entertainer and an artist. But I'm not going to sit in a corner and sulk because immediately I gave myself time. I took trauma counseling. I did that. I spent time with myself. I cried for 2 days. And then I realized, okay, I finished. You're finished. You're done crying. Now you have to wear your big girl pants and go to work. It's that. You have to still have to put food on the table.
Yeah.
You have to put food on the table. So lows and highs will happen.
Yeah.
You have to celebrate the small wins. आप जिंदा हो, आपने 2 waves महामारी की मार के आप इधर आए हैं, इधर बैठे हैं. You all are safe and sound. You all have defeated 2 waves of a world pandemic. You all are great. You know, by itself. So you imagine the trauma that we have all gone through as a. It's not like my trauma is more than yours. You also must have gone through struggles, but we all have to deal with it. और क्या करें? हम लोग कितना ही हमारे दोस्तों के साथ उनको बिठा के, you know, ऐसे एक मतलब 2-3 पैग लगा के कितना ही बैठेंगे. You know, it's like, how much are you going to sulk? You have to get moving. You have to keep it moving.
Yeah. What would you advise the youth sitting here for their following of unconventional dreams? Many of them, you know, because they had questions on careers, on content creation, but to take that unconventional, to tread a new path, what's your message to them?
See, another thing is, I don't consider myself unconventional or what I do unconventional, because when I started studying psychology, I got an industrial and organizational behavioral psychology degree. Then I went into counseling psychology. Then I went into emotional writing and intelligence. And then I went into research methodology. So my father was like, "ये कब तुम इस्तेमाल करोगी इसको? तुम कमाती तो नाच गा के ही हो." So मैंने बोला, "But I understand my audience ना. I understand." My thesis for my master's degree was on how product packaging affects consumer buying behavior. Now, when you look at me, you'll be like, my God, she knows all this? I was like, yeah, because I like reading books more than reading people. So I think it's fun. And my favorite subjects were RM, research methodology and statistics. But when people look at me, they're like, and my first job was as a quantitative and qualitative, both researcher in a market research agency. So, but that was my first job. And I enjoyed it. I loved coming up with new, like, computations of, variables and stuff. So for me, that fascinates me. But it doesn't have to fascinate everyone. And nothing is unconventional. I think singing is the most conventional, organic thing that could have happened to my life. If I wouldn't have sung, imagine. And for that's why I say that, you can do whatever you want and not call it unconventional. Do whatever you want. I can't give you advice. Honestly, I'm nobody to give you advice. Because I am not some, final word on anything. You have to choose what you want to do in life, and you have to concentrate on that and do it. Forget about what people might think about it.
But I feel Rani Kohinoor is an icon